Dear members of the faculty, staff, and students, when we last met a year ago, the situation seemed dire. The COVID-19 pandemic was raging, a vaccine was still not available, and the shrill rhetoric of political campaigns was dialed up to 11. Much has changed since then, most of it for the better. Yet, we are not out of the woods. The road to normalcy is long and arduous and littered with disappointments. Talking of normalcy, I am proud of how the faculty have embraced the new normal of teaching online and face-to-face at the same time. If transitioning to online teaching at short notice in March 2020 wasn't hard enough, now at short notice we have switched to reduced density classrooms. We find ourselves simultaneously teaching students present with us in the classroom as well as those online, teaching with one computer while following student comments on another device, improvising all the time. While I'm conscious of the risk of infection due to close proximity, I'm also nourished by the joy I see in the eyes of my appropriately masked students. Working with the Office of Information Technology and the Education Technology Services, faculty have helped improve course delivery. We have mastered teaching tools that we hadn't even heard of a few years ago. Colleagues in the Academic Continuity Working Group have worked with the Center for Teaching and Learning and the Provost's Office to ensure high-quality teaching. Similarly, faculty have worked with the Office of Research to ensure that laboratory research and other scholarly activities that nourish our minds proceed with minimum hindrance. All through the pandemic, the Senate Advisory Committee on Budget has been conferring with the Office of Budget and Finance on a regular basis, not only learning about the university's finances during the troubled times, but also offering strategic advice to shore them up. As we move towards creating a more inclusive and welcoming campus, we have welcomed a new Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Curricular recommendations of the Living Our Values Task Force are being considered for implementation. Another recommendation of the task force has resulted in the creation of the Police Oversight Committee chaired by a member of the faculty. Faculty have continued to serve with exceptional dedication on various Senate and university committees, including but not limited to the CEP, CQ, Effective Teaching, Education Technology, Faculty Mentoring, Accessibility, Human Subject Experiments, Information Security, and Information Technology Planning and Policy. As is to be expected, within any large organization, there have been occasions of strong disagreement and debate. The aftermath of such disagreements and debates says a lot about the health and resilience of the organization. On that account, I have reasons to feel optimistic. During November and December of last year, the Academic Senate considered temporary exceptions to credit, no credit, and pass-fail deadlines. A body that usually makes decisions with unanimity was split on this issue. After an intense but respectful debate, in which President Benson also participated, the body approved the temporary exceptions. There was no lingering resistance or mistrust between senators on either side of the debate after the debate was over. The recent discussion about ensuring a safe teaching environment provided yet another example of how faculty and administration have sufficient faith in each other to share their concerns and critiques freely and then work together to take actions that best serve the university. I celebrate this diversity of ideas and opinions on how best to advance the university. Along the way, we had the retirement of multiple colleagues after several decades of distinguished teaching, research, and service to the university. Their role in shaping our relatively new university will always be cherished. Sadly, we also lost a much-loved colleague in Angela McNulty and a greatly admired leader in Hobson Wildenthal. They will be sorely missed. While much has been accomplished over the last year, a lot remains to be done. Unlike several countries that are desperate for an adequate supply of vaccines, here we have an abundant supply and a significant minority unwilling to be vaccinated. We also find ourselves unable to implement scientifically prudent measures like mandatory vaccination and masking. While the rejection of science and scholarship by a section of the population may be disheartening, this is nothing new. We have overcome such denialism before. We hope to do it again. We may feel scholarship is under siege. We are disappointed as our leaders ignore science and scholarship. Let us recall the treatment meted out to Copernicus and Galileo by the leaders of their time. Ultimately, the ideas of Copernicus and Galileo prevailed. Let us recall the numerous book burnings and persecutions of scholars by various regimes through history. Those regimes are long gone, but the knowledge created and imparted by the scholars persists. Today, everybody accepts the fact that seat belts and airbags in cars save lives. But just 40 years ago, in this country, there was significant opposition and misleading rhetoric about them, coming from the highest seats of power. In the mid-'80s, when a Michigan legislator introduced a bill mandating wearing of seatbelts, he was criticized for limiting people's freedoms and was compared to Hitler. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Our alma mater calls upon scholars and scientists like us to inflame the scholar's heart, lighting pathways through the dark. This flame of scholarship has the habit of disrupting the status quo. Those who prefer certainty and predictability over the disruptive promise of our teaching and research may be wary of what we have to offer. We need to reach out to them respectfully and show how their lot could be improved if we joined hands. Then there are those who stand to profit from the status quo. They will oppose any change regardless of the merit of our ideas. We must stand up to them. Leaders who mislead thrive by manipulating people to work and vote against their own interests. And people who are scared are easy to manipulate. And those who are not well informed are easy to scare. When we light pathways through the dark and help build an informed society, we make it harder to scare, mislead, and manipulate people. So in closing, let me repeat my plea from last year. As scholars and scientists, it isn't enough just to create knowledge and teach in the classroom. We need to reach out to much larger population that is outside our classrooms and laboratories. This is how we help knowledge and logic prevail. This is how we realize our founders' visionary dream. This is how we serve all the human race. Thank you.